Assassin's Creed. Is that still a stealth game?
I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Assassin's Creed was never actually truly a true stealth game.
Really?
Yes, I will say this. I've played from the first game all the ways up until Valhalla, and I've had to like take off the rose tinted glasses, as we say, and be objective on it. Right? It's like, yes, there is kind of like that like slight stalking feature, right? But for the most part, Altair, it's like you can kind of like disguise yourself, but why were you running in the first place, right?
True.
Why did you have to disguise yourself when you were being chased, you know? And there are some tailing missions there, but for the most part, you're not really sneaking around for the most part, if you kind of actually think about it. Like in the Assassin's Creed 2, you know, or Brotherhood, Revelations, all that stuff, right? There are sneaking parts in the game, but you don't actually like stealth around. Like sometimes you're like, okay, well, don't get caught in this area, and that's a specific mission you got to do. But for the most part, you're not really like sneaking around, you know?
What do you mean by that? Just for the layman and myself, because I'm like, okay, well, technically you're walking around the streets. No one's going to be like, it's him, you know, unless you, I guess if you are, is there like a wanted system? Like
Assassin's Creed does
where
have
does
a
the
wanted.
Stealth come into play?
So I think the stealth in Assassin's Creed comes into play pretty much whenever you are in the danger, in that immediate danger. How do you like hide yourself from the enemy, from the guards, right?
Okay.
So let's say, for instance, I go up, I stab a guy, you know, he drops on the floor, the guards see me, hey, what are you doing, you know? And you're like, oh, I gotta run now. So now you're booking it, you're jetting it, right? You're looking around for a place to hide. Maybe there's like a group of monks that kind of look like you, or there's a hay bale that you gotta jump into, right? So you go, you run, you jump into the hay bale, wait a few seconds, like Grand Theft Auto's wanted system, right? Eventually the fuzz cools off and you're good to go. You know, that's kind of what Assassin's Creed kind of had for the most part.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you'll have missions where you have to like tail somebody, right? But it's pretty much you just like, you know, walking behind. Every once in a while they'll stop, they'll turn around, they'll look at you, right? Maybe you're like in a hay bale or you're on the rooftop or something along those lines. So there are sometimes that stealth element, but for the most part, and if you ever notice for a lot of the Assassin's Creed missions, you're not really doing a lot of sneaking around for the most part. You're actually kind of just like fighting a lot of guys, or you're fighting a few guys.
So it's more of like a action game with stealth elements.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's fascinating because I hate to even agree with you because I'm like, this is Assassin's Creed. You know, this is, you know, the legacy of Assassin's Creed. You're sneaking around, you're stealthing. But if I remember correctly, you can be seen by pretty much anyone. It's
Yeah.
no big deal unless it's mission specific to like, don't get seen by this person or that person.
Yeah.
Like you're walking around, no one's, it's not like, hey, you know, like as soon as you get seen, like in MGS5, you know, this is what I've been playing.
Right.
You cannot be seen ever. Like if you're riding in a truck, and you know, obviously if you're out of line of sight, right? But if you're driving in a truck where it's like, there's no way they can see through this, they'll see it. And then it's now you're setting off the alert. Now everybody and all the little bases around you know you're coming, and now they're looking for you. And all the guards are walking in kind of like a semi-set alert pattern, which I think we've got to get to a point in games where guards don't have a set pattern.
Like it's randomized.
It's a little bit more randomized.
Metal Gear Solid does do a little bit of randomization, right? And I'll say this for Horizon, which is unfortunately its biggest flaw.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Right, Horizon Zero Dawn. It's
Yes.
one of their biggest flaws, but they were trying to do something different. It's the fact that Aloy, her I forget what it's called, the piece
focus?
the focus in her ear, right?
Yeah.
It can predict the trajectory of where somebody's going, like their walk pattern, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't just work for the robots, but it also works for people, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I get that you're trying to do something to focus it, but now it makes it so obvious that I can just be like, I'll just wait for this guy to bank around the corner, and then I have a
Right.
few seconds to just run around.